Welcome to the Take Good Care podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Bradshaw. No one wants to become highly skilled at navigating a medical crisis by actually navigating their own medical crises. But I'm here for it. I'm here to help you avoid the learn-as-you-go education in healthcare that I've experienced throughout my own healthcare journey. And I'm also here to facilitate inspiration with guests who get you. We get you. And we're here to build community. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Take Good Care podcast. This is episode 8. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I talk with Kim and Doug Bianchi. We happen to live in the same community, and we're friends. Doug and Kim are the owners of a lovely small vineyard. And literally, from the onset of Doug's mysterious illness, this community, their friends, showed up at the vineyard to work, not even knowing what needed to be done. When he woke up one morning, paralyzed from the waist down, and no one can prepare for something so unexpected, Doug and Kim needed the help and support of their community. Now, Doug will admit he has a hard time asking for help. So many of us do. And I believe that one of the lessons we are meant to learn from a health crisis is how to give and receive help, how to build community. I promise you that your friends and family witnessing your health crisis want to help. But sometimes they don't know how to help if you don't tell them what you need. And the same is true of the other side. If you are a friend or a family member, a community member witnessing the health crisis of someone else, think about your own skills and talents. If you make the most delicious casserole, then by all means, be the person who delivers casseroles. Be the person maybe who mows the lawn, picks up the mail, offers to take the kids to or from school one day a week. Consider what in your own household would be turned upside down. Then think about how you can help fill in the gaps. The other thing I want to point out about Doug and Kim's story is that there is a beginning and a middle, but the end is not yet known. They can't know the outcomes surrounding the mystery of Doug's illness. And that's a complicated place to be. As I listened back to our conversation preparing this episode, I could hear the uncertainty in their voices. But I could also hear their determination. Doug shares his thoughts about dis-ease, not just disease, but dis-ease. It's truly a fascinating and vulnerable conversation. First with Doug, then with Kim. Let's start from the beginning. You'd been having some numbness in your legs for about a year, but on March 9th, everything really caught up with you.
You know, I'm a regular dude. I thought I had a pinched nerve in my back and a little bit of numbness in my leg, and we'll take care of it at some point. But it just kept growing and growing. And then March 9th of this year, I literally woke up in the morning and I was paralyzed from the waist down.
Let's talk about that moment, because there's not many people who have any such experience. Were you having some increased numbness in the days before, or was it just sudden like that?
It was growing. Yeah, it was growing to where it was getting extremely hard to walk. My left leg was shutting down, but I really didn't expect to wake up and be paralyzed. So yeah, that was a shock.
What happened that morning then? So you wake up and tell us what happened.
So I woke up and realized I was paralyzed, and there's a lot of things that go through your mind, you know? And so I would say it took me about 10 minutes to go through a mental process. The mental process for me was, oh my God, I'm paralyzed. What am I going to do with this? How is this going to affect my life? Poor me. And all that. And then finally come to the realization that, all right, if this is the way it's going to be, then what am I going to do with it? How can I, what can I do with it? Can I make this a positive? Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do now.
And so was there any thought in your mind that this is permanent? Is this temporary? I mean, obviously you're getting yourself to a hospital at this point. Did you have any thoughts about that, or you're just trying to take it a moment at a time?
I still thought it was, I wasn't sure, but it was kind of funny because my first call was to the wheelchair rental company to see if I get a wheelchair, and then call a friend and just put me in a wheelchair. We'll figure this out later, or even just prop me up in the corner. We'll figure it
So
out.
not call an ambulance, Kim. I'm paralyzed.
No, and the only friend that I could get a hold of quickly was someone who was extremely sensitive. I mean, I I couldn't tell him no when he said, "Doug, we need to get you to the emergency room." And so we called an ambulance. They came, picked me up, took me to Confluence, and they did an MRI. And they said, "Hey, you've got a tumor on your spinal cord." So that was a bit of a shock. And then they also said, "Well, we've called University of Washington Medical." They said to fly you over immediately, and they're going to prep for emergency surgery. So
Sitting you up in a corner and dealing with this later was not an option, obviously.
yeah,
Which is,
suddenly I realized it was a bigger deal than I
yeah.
thought.
So you made the right call to the right friend, I think.
I think so. It worked out that way.
One of the things that you've shared with me in our conversations over these months, is that you had been experiencing dis-ease, some real discontentment with things in your career and things in your life. And you feel like that might be a contributor. Would you share a bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in our mental state. And I've watched a few people go through being in a state of dis-ease and actually bringing on disease. And so I recognized that I was in that state for about a 4-year period with things that I was going through in my life, trying to get entangled from previous business, etc. And I even shared with Kim a couple of years ago. I said, "Look, I feel like I'm in a state of dis-ease, and I'm worried about it. I'm concerned about that." And I no sooner got untangled from the things I was worried about, and bam, this hits me, right? Believing that, I also believe that I can mentally contribute to my well-being, getting out of my situation.
Mm-hmm. When I was diagnosed with cancer at 24, it was one of the hardest years of my life leading up to it, because we'd lost my father-in-law, my late husband's father, and there was just no room for my grief. And it was a very difficult time in our marriage. And I remember thinking, I just want to go home to my family in California, rest, and be taken care of for a while, because I was taking care of everything. And sure enough, I went home to California for Christmas, my husband and I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was home with my family, and I was resting, and I was being taken care of. Now, would I have wished that to be the path? No way. But I believe in what you're saying, in that the things that I was going through sure didn't help where I ended up, I think, physically. And I, like you, believe just as strongly that I could have a role in that recovery, and hopefully living many, many years with a change in my attitude.
I think there's a lot of people in a state of dis-ease that don't look at it like that. They don't look at it like they really do have the power to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Doug, you were talking about when this first happened, your first thought was, I got to get a wheelchair, or someone just prop me up in a corner. Tell us what happened from there.
Well, what happened from there is, you start to wonder, how am I gonna get everything done? I mean, we had bottling to do. We're behind. We're a small winery, so things can go sideways real fast. Not having enough inventory, etc. But what happened immediately is that I had a friend call and say, "Hey, where's the staples for the the taping gun for the vineyard, and where's this and where's that?" And it was just out of the blue. I didn't ask anybody. They just call me up and want to know where the tools are to get things done. And I thought that was pretty impressive for one, I kind of go through life, I've gone through life thinking, nobody really cares about your problems, right? But that was when I started to learn that people really do. And I've really learned what community is about through this process.
I can imagine you're not a guy who would have asked for much help.
It's hard for me to ask for help. I don't want to ask or tell people to do something that I won't do myself. And if I can't do it, that makes it extremely difficult. I've never been there before.
Yeah, that's tough. And it brings me to my next question. We're talking a lot about community during this conversation, Doug. And so I want to ask you about that heavy duty scooter you have there. You received that as a gift from the community and your friends when they held a fundraiser for you. Did you know anything about it? Did you see it coming?
No, they completely did it without my authorization.
Without your authorization.
But it just goes to show you, how this community is. I was completely blown away.
And does that then enable you to get down into the vineyard where before the chair you had, you couldn't? How much that helped your mobility?
The problem that I'm having is insurance covers a wheelchair, but a wheelchair that'll get you around a hardwood floor in the house, but it won't hardly get you out to the vehicle in a gravel driveway. It's certainly not going to get you in the vineyard. The scooter that they purchase, that thing goes to the vineyard with authority. And it completely opens up my world. So, yeah.
I was so happy to see the video that they posted on Facebook when you received that gift and the surprise, because I, like so many people, have visited the winery, gone to your events, and seen your limited access, and just felt badly that you couldn't be down in the dirt, in the vines, in the grapes, in the area that you've helped create, that you helped build over many years with your hard work, yours and Kim's hard work. So to get to see you have greater access, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I love projects and I get excited about projects, and I'll look out the window and, oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to do this. And then I think, oh, wait a second, I can't do that.
Right.
So I haven't really made the mental connection that I, initially in my thought process, that I can't do certain things.
And how do you turn that to the positive that you were hoping this would be for you? Where is the lesson? Where are some of the greatest lessons you found? It is in accepting the limitation, finding other ways to make an impact?
There's quite a few. I mean, it's a humbling experience. Not sure about the lesson as far as not being able to do the work. The only thing I can think of is that there's a greater appreciation for being able to do what we do, whatever that may be, and not being able to fulfill what we want to do, what our desires are, what our projects are. That's extremely humbling.
And where are you at now?
So the diagnosis now is I've learned that I truly am special because when they initially did the surgery, they could not remove the tumor because it was embedded and wrapped within the spinal cord. In fact, the doctor said he's never seen anything like it. He even said it looked old. Maybe it was an old injury or something, who knows, but they could barely get a sample out of it. So now, months later, being that this tumor-like growth has expanded slightly, they're able to get another sample. And so we're waiting for a diagnosis. But initially, it's been testing negative, so we're not real sure. And that was the struggle before, is there's no diagnosis. There's a growth. It's not cancerous. It's not lymphoma, but it's a growth of something, right? Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can get a diagnosis, but
yeah,
if it's growing, obviously we've got to put a stop to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm into that.
I'm into that. Well, I just, I wish you all the best. And I hope that your wheels make you happy, and just knowing that so many people care about you. And Before Kim comes on, anything you'd like to say to her through this opportunity?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Number one, as far as Kimberly goes, it's been laid in her lap, and it's a huge test for anybody. You'll find out what you're made out of, whether you're in my situation or hers. And she's truly been a rock star. And we both had our struggles from time to time, but I can say she's been unbelievable in this process.
I would second that. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk to her in just a minute when we come back. I wish you the best.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Lisa.
Kim, I also wanted to share your side of things as a caregiver. I've been a patient and a caregiver, and I think sometimes being the caregiver can be a little more challenging sometimes because you feel helpless, right? You want to fix things that maybe aren't fixable quite yet. So just wanted you to speak to your point of view of things and maybe that'll offer encouragement to others, just the relatability.
Yeah. Well, you find yourself in a state of the unknown because you have never gone through this experience before. So then you have, like I would have to say, I started out with shock because I wasn't there when this happened. I was actually visiting my son in Tennessee. So I got the phone call, Kim, I'm going to be airlifted to the University of Washington. And so all those hours of, fearfulness, what's happening. And then, of course, then you're in the care of all the doctors and the nurses. And it was amazing treatment that we were serviced there. But it was when you got home, that's when the big shocker was, because it's like, okay, now what? You don't have all the ADA, the bathrooms and all the equipment that they utilize there for him to make it comfortable for him. So there was a lot of sadness, and I would be upset because it's like, okay, I'm your caregiver, but yet I don't feel like I'm the best caregiver. And then he would be the one picking me off the floor because I would be in these emotions of up and down. And he'd always raise me up, give me the hope that we're going to make it through.
There's a volley of strength, right? Like you're saying, there's times that he's lifting you up. There's times that you're lifting him up. Where has the community come in this for you?
Oh boy, that lights a huge smile on my face with the servers that work for us. I've got girls that rally, for me. Just, Kim, don't worry about the business. We got it for you. We'll take care of this. And then it's like, okay, at least that relief is off my shoulders. But then I also have some great, just my girlfriends checking in on you. How you doing today? Just, it's okay to cry. Call me if you want to cry. So I have that support too. Love of friends.
One thing I think caregivers face sometimes is the challenge of getting the patient to be okay with being a patient sometimes, to listen to the doctors, to listen to you, and I'm not speaking to Doug specifically. I'm speaking to lots of experience I've had with patients and their caregivers. Sometimes it's hard to draw the line between I'm the nurse kind of caregiver and I'm the wife.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know where that line is, Lisa.
Yeah.
It's still hard for me. I've recently connected with, her name's Danny Utley, Mike Utley's wife, who he became a paraplegic.
Yes. Yeah, he played for WSU and then he played for the Detroit Lions, and it was during a Detroit Lions football game that he was injured. So they are very involved in the community, and she's been of help to other people I know as well. So I'm glad you're connected. That's good.
Yeah. So she did say that it's very important in a relationship for me to be his wife, and that I can't be reminding him, daily, you drink your water, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, because that will do some harm, right? So I just have to be aware of that. I don't have to be a nurse all the time. I can be a loving wife and, hug him, and that's what he needs. That's going to help him through his days.
Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing your side of the story, and I appreciate you trusting me with it. I really do. I look forward to talking to you both for a long time.
All right. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Both of you. Take good care.
Thanks.